Every week, one conversation, 3 pillars, build, body, bank. This is Miles of Sense, and your second act starts now.
Two people, same age, same super balance, same 20 years left before they stop working. This week, the rules that decide how their retirement is taxed quietly changed. One of them noticed, one of them didn't. In 10 years, they will not have the same life. And the gap between them won't come down to luck. It won't come down to markets. It won't even come down to income. It'll come down to one thing: who paid attention and who drifted. Today, we make sure you're the one who paid attention. Quick note, I'm Miles Carter and my guest Vivian Smith. We're both AI. The voices are artificial. The research is real. Let's get into it. Welcome to Miles of Sense. I'm Miles Carter. Today's subject is your super. So I brought in someone who's lived inside the system. 25 years in superannuation, the funds, the advice, the rooms where the decisions get made. And she's done with the spin. Vivian Smith, welcome.
Thanks, Miles. And I won't talk to you the way the industry usually does. I've sat on both sides of the desk. I've read the fine print most people never see. No jargon, no spin, just what changed and what to do about it.
Good. And here's the frame. This episode isn't about tax tables. It's about identity. Two kinds of people head into their second act. One takes command of this. One drifts. Today, make sure you're the first kind.
And here's the uncomfortable part. The system is built for the drifter. It works whether you pay attention or not. But it works best for the people who don't. The industry's whole message is, relax, you're in good hands. It's designed to stop you asking questions. I'm going to do the opposite. So let me show you what actually changed this week.
So, the 1st of July, new financial year. What moved?
3 things worth your attention, and I'll keep them in plain English. First, and this is the headline, there's a new tax on very large super balances. It's called Division 296. From the 1st of July, if your total super sits above $3 million, the earnings on the slice above $3 million get taxed an extra 15%. Now, most people watching aren't near $3 million, so you might think this doesn't touch you. Stay with me, because it does, just not the way you'd expect.
Hold on. If I'm nowhere near $3 million, why do I care?
2 reasons. 1, that $3 million line is not indexed. It doesn't rise with inflation. So a number that sounds like someone else's problem today quietly becomes a middle-class problem in 20 years. 2, and this is the real signal. It tells you which direction the whole system is moving. The rules are tightening at the top. When the government starts targeting super, the smart move is simple. Use the room you have now before it narrows further.
And I heard there's a second tier. Above $10 million?
There is. Above $10 million, the extra tax steps up again. Another 10% on top, so 25% on that highest slice. That part really is for the very wealthy, but don't let it distract you. Here's the number that matters for a normal person. A balance that's well under $3 million today, growing quietly for 2 decades, can cross that line without you ever feeling wealthy. Do your own maths on it. Compounding is patient, and that threshold isn't moving. Today's ceiling is tomorrow's middle.
So the headline number isn't really the point. The direction is.
The direction is everything. Which brings me to the second change, and this one is good news. The amount you're allowed to put into super went up. The before-tax cap, money from your salary or that you claim a deduction on, rose to $32,500 a year. The after-tax cap, money you put in from savings you've already paid tax on, is now $130,000 a year. More room. For the person paying attention, that's an opportunity. For the drifter, it's a number they'll never use.
Let me make sure everyone's with us. Before tax, after tax. Break that down simply.
Fair. No jargon. Here it is. Before tax money is money that hasn't been taxed at your normal rate yet. Employer contributions, salary sacrifice, or a personal contribution you claim a deduction on. It goes into super and gets taxed lightly, 15%, instead of at your marginal rate, which for most operators is a lot higher. That gap is the whole game. After-tax money is money from your bank account, pay that's already been taxed, savings and inheritance, the proceeds of a sale. You move it in, and from there it grows in the low-tax environment. One lowers your tax this year. The other shelters money for the long run. Different tools, same goal.
Give me a real example. What does that before-tax move actually save someone?
Fair. No jargon. Here it is. Before tax money is money that hasn't been taxed at your normal rate yet. Let's do it with round numbers. Say you salary sacrifice $10,000 this year, money redirected into super before it's taxed. Inside super, that $10,000 is taxed at 15%. If you'd taken it as salary and your marginal rate is 37%, it'd be taxed at 37%. That's a 22-cent gap on every dollar. Roughly $2,200 less tax this year on that one move. And the full amount is still yours, still invested, still growing. That's not a loophole. That's the system working as designed for the person who bothers to use it.
And if someone comes into a lump sum, a sale, an inheritance?
Then the after-tax side becomes powerful. Normally, you can put in $130,000 a year, but there's a rule called bring forward. If you're eligible, it lets you pull up to 3 years of that cap into a single year. Right now, up to $390,000 at once. So someone who downsizes the family home or sells a business or inherits can move a large chunk into the low-tax environment in one go, instead of dripping it in over years. It's one of the biggest levers there is, and it rewards the person who plans the timing.
Got it. And the third change?
The third one is quieter, but it matters when you actually retire. There's a limit on how much you can move into the tax-free retirement zone, the pension phase, where your money stops paying tax on its earnings altogether. That limit just rose to $2.1 million. For most people, that's a ceiling they're aiming toward, not bumping into. But it's the finish line of the whole game, and knowing where the finish line sits changes how you run the race.
So to be clear, new tax at the top, more room to contribute, a higher tax-free ceiling at the end. The board just changed, mid-game.
Mid-game and without a whistle. Nobody sent you a letter. That's the part that gets me. These are 3 of the biggest levers on your retirement, and they moved with a press release most people scrolled past. The commander reads the board. The drifter plays on, using last year's rules, and wonders later why they came up short.
Let's go deep on this, because it's the heart of it. You keep coming back to 2 people, the commander and the drifter. Paint me the drifter. Who is that, honestly?
The drifter isn't lazy. That's what people get wrong. The drifter is usually busy, capable, successful in every other part of life. They run a business or a team or a household. They read the room at work. They know their numbers at work. But they're super. They set it up once 20 years ago and never looked again. They're in whatever funded job put them in. They don't know what it's invested in. They don't know what it's costing them. They assume it's fine. And fine is the most expensive word in retirement.
Why is fine so expensive?
Because fine hides small leaks that compound for decades. Let me give you one number. 2 people, same money in, same 40-year run. One's in a fund charging 1.5% a year. The other's in a low-cost option charging 0.5%. That 1% gap doesn't sound like much. Over a working life, it can cost the first person hundreds of thousands of dollars. Same contributions, same markets. The only difference was one person looked and one person didn't. That's the drifter's tax. It's invisible, it's voluntary, and it's enormous.
Give me another tell. How else do you spot a drifter?
Lost accounts. There are billions of dollars sitting in lost and unclaimed super in this country. Billions. That's real people's retirement money, disconnected from them because they changed jobs and never followed the money. The drifter often has 3 or 4 old accounts, each charging fees, several quietly paying for insurance they've forgotten about, sometimes paying for the same cover twice. They're not losing money in a dramatic way. They're losing it in a slow, silent leak that nobody ever put in front of them. That's the whole problem. Nobody makes you look.
Hundreds of thousands. For not looking. That's sobering.
It should be. But here's the flip, because I'm not here to scare anyone. The commander doesn't do anything heroic. They don't pick hot stocks. They don't time the market. They're not smarter than the drifter. They just take command of 4 things. What fund they're in, what it's invested in, what it's costing, and how much is going in. That's it. 4 dials, 1 afternoon a year.
4 dials. That feels almost too simple.
It is simple. That's the secret the industry doesn't advertise. Because simple doesn't sell products. The commander's edge isn't complexity, it's attention. For a lot of operators, super is the biggest asset they'll ever own. Bigger than the house. And they'd never own a house for 30 years and never once check the roof. Attention is the whole advantage, and attention is free.
Is it really just attention, though? For a lot of people, this stuff carries dread. It's not that they don't care. It's that they're scared to look.
You've named it exactly. It's not laziness, it's dread. People avoid their super the way they avoid a letter they think is bad news. And I'll tell you what I've seen 100 times. The dread is almost always worse than the reality. Someone finally logs in expecting a disaster. And it's not a disaster. It's just neglected. Fixable in an afternoon. The relief on their face is the same every time. Looking doesn't create the problem. Looking ends the fear of the problem. That's why the commander sleeps better, not because they have more, but because they know.
So the gap between the two isn't income. It isn't intelligence. It's whether you look.
That's it. And the reason I'm so blunt about it, I've watched it play out from the inside for 25 years. The people who retired well were almost never the highest earners. They were the ones who took command early and stayed consistent. The high earners who drifted, plenty of them landed with less. Money in was never the problem. Attention was. You can't control the markets, you can't control the rules. This week proved that. But you can control whether you're the commander or the casualty of your own retirement. That choice is yours, and it's available today.
I want to name the thing under all of this: the fear. For a lot of people in their 50s, there's a quiet worry that they've left it too late, that the number won't be enough. Is that fear real?
It's real, and I won't insult you by pretending it isn't. This is where the industry goes soft and reassuring. I'm not going to do that. For a large share of people approaching retirement, the balance is short of what they'll want. Not catastrophic, but short. The comfortable retirement the brochures describe usually assumes a number many people simply don't have yet. That's the honest picture. Here's why I'm still not worried for the person watching this.
Tell me why.
Because the years you're in right now are the most powerful years you'll ever have for this. Your 40s and 50s are peak earning. The mortgage is often smaller than it was. The kids are getting less expensive, or about to. For the first time in decades, you may have genuine surplus, and a decade or two of growth still ahead of you. The industry frames 50 as running out of time. I frame it as the opposite. 50 is when the drifter panics and the commander accelerates. You are standing in your best window right now. Most people waste it worrying instead of moving.
So the shortfall is real, but the window to fix it is open.
Wide open. And the changes we just talked about? They widened it. Higher contribution caps mean the person who's behind can put more in during these peak years to catch up. And there's a second lane most people have never heard of: carry forward.
Carry forward. Explain that one simply.
Simply, if you didn't use your full before-tax cap in recent years, you don't necessarily lose it. You may be able to carry that unused room forward, up to 5 years of it, and use it now as long as your total super is under a set threshold. Think about who that helps. Someone who took time out to raise kids, someone who had lean years in business, someone who's only now got surplus to spare. The system quietly lets them make up for lost ground, a big catch-up contribution in a single year, taxed lightly. But you have to know it exists, and you have to use it before the oldest year drops off. It's the catch-up lane, and it's hiding in plain sight.
There's always a catch, though.
This one's just timing. That room isn't permanent. Caps get used or lost each year. Carry forward room expires on a rolling basis. The tax-free finish line has a ceiling. Every one of these levers rewards the person who acts inside the window and quietly penalises the person who waits. The system is not neutral about time. It pays the mover. So when someone tells me I'll sort my super out closer to retirement, I tell them the truth. Closer to retirement is when the tools stop working. The time they work best is now.
The system pays the mover. That's the line.
Write it on the wall, because it's the difference between a retirement you design and a retirement you inherit by accident. And none of this requires you to become a finance person. It requires one afternoon, a handful of decisions, and the willingness to look. Let me give you the actual moves.
All right, this is the part people came for. If I'm the operator who's decided to take command, what do I actually do? Give me the moves.
5 moves, plain English. None of them require an advisor to start, though I'll tell you when one's worth it. Move 1, find your money. Sounds obvious. It isn't. A huge number of people have super in 2, 3, 4 old accounts from old jobs. Some have money the tax office is literally holding for them because a fund lost touch. Log into the government's MyGov system, link the tax office, and you'll see every account you own, plus any lost super being held for you, in one place. For a lot of people, that single step reconnects them with money they'd genuinely forgotten they had.
Move 1, find it all, see it in one place. What's move 2?
Move 2, decide whether to bring it together. If you've got several accounts, consolidating into one can stop you paying multiple sets of fees and multiple insurance premiums. One caution, because I promised you honesty. Before you close an old fund, check the insurance inside it. Some older policies are hard to replace, especially if your health has changed. So don't merge blindly. Look first, then move. But for most people, one good account beats 4 neglected ones.
Say more on that. What insurance are we even talking about inside super?
3 main kinds, and most people have no idea they hold them. Life cover pays out if you die. Total and permanent disability pays out if you can never work again. And income protection replaces part of your income if illness or injury stops you working for a while. It's often set up by default, and the premiums come quietly out of your balance. That can be a good thing. Many people are underinsured elsewhere. But it can also mean you're paying for the same cover in 3 old funds at once. So the command move is know what you hold, keep what protects you, and stop paying 3 times for it. Don't cancel cover you actually need just to save a fee.
Know it, keep what matters, stop the duplicates. Move 3.
Move 3. Check what your money is actually invested in. This is the big one, and it's the one people skip. Most funds put you in a default option. That default might be right for you. It might be far too conservative for someone with 20 years to go. Log in and look at your investment option. If you've got a long runway and you're sitting in a cash or capital stable, setting out of habit, your money may be idling when it should be growing. You don't need to become a stock picker. You just need your setting to match your timeline, not someone's default.
For a total beginner, how do I even read those options? What am I looking at?
Great question, and it's simpler than it looks. Most funds offer a handful of settings on a sliding scale. At one end, growth or high growth, mostly shares and property, bumpier year to year, but the strongest engine over a long runway. In the middle, balanced, the common default, a mix. At the other end, conservative or cash, steadier but slow and easily outpaced by inflation over decades. Some funds also run a life cycle option that automatically shifts you towards safety as you age. 2 tools help. Read your fund's own descriptions. They're plain enough. And the tax office runs a free comparison tool called Your Super that ranks the big funds on fees and past performance. Match the setting to how many years you've got, not to your nerves on a bad day.
Match the setting to your timeline. Move 4.
Move 4. Turn up the dial deliberately using the new room. This is where the higher caps pay off. If you've got surplus in these peak years, adding a little extra before tax, salary sacrifice, does 2 things at once. It builds your balance and it lowers your tax bill this year because that money is taxed lightly instead of at your full rate. For an operator earning well, that's one of the last genuinely good deals left in the tax system. Start small if you need to. The habit matters more than the amount at first.
Build the balance and cut the tax. Same move. And move 5.
Move 5. Know when to bring in a professional, because I won't pretend a podcast replaces advice. If your situation is simple, the first 4 moves you can do yourself this week. But if you're near that 3 million line, if you run a self-managed fund, if you're within about 10 years of retiring, or you're carrying a big one-off, a sale, an inheritance, that's when a licensed advisor earns their fee many times over. The commander isn't too proud to get help. They just get it on purpose, at the right moment.
Before we summarize, is there anything people almost always forget? A blind spot?
Yes. Who gets your super if you die? And it catches people out constantly. Your super usually isn't covered by your will. The fund decides where it goes, unless you've made a valid beneficiary nomination telling them. A binding nomination is the one that ties their hands to your wishes. And here's the trap. In many funds, those lapse every few years if you don't renew them. So people fill it in once, move on, and it quietly expires. It takes 10 minutes. For a lot of families, it's the single most important form they'll never think about. Put it on the list.
And get real advice when the stakes get real.
That's the whole playbook. And notice what's not on the list. No hot tips, no secret product, no timing the market, just attention applied to a handful of dials with help when it counts. That's what taking command actually looks like. It's boring, and boring, done consistently, is how this game is won.
Let's make this impossible to ignore. Someone's watching right now, in the car, walking, at their desk. Give them the afternoon, step by step. What do they actually do this weekend?
One afternoon, 3 hours tops. Here's the sequence. Hour 1, you find it and you face it. Log into MyGov, link the tax office, and look at every super account you own. Write down 3 numbers for each one, the balance, the yearly fee, and what it's invested in. That's it. Most people have never seen those 3 numbers in one place. Seeing them is the whole shift.
Hour 1, find it and face the numbers. Hour 2?
Hour 2, you make 2 decisions. Decision 1, do I bring these accounts together? If you've got several and the insurance checks out, consolidating is usually a yes. Decision 2, does my investment option match my timeline? If you've got a long runway and you're sitting in the most conservative setting by default, that's your flag to change it. You're not overhauling your life. You're making 2 clear decisions you've been avoiding for years.
2 decisions in hour 2. What's the last hour?
Hour 3, you set the dial and you diarise the date. Look at your budget and ask, can I add a little extra before tax during these peak years? If yes, set it up. Even a small amount starts the habit. If you're not sure how much, that's your one question for an advisor. And while you're in there, check your beneficiary is current. Then the most important step, and the one nobody does. Put a recurring date in your calendar, same day every year, to run this exact review.
Make it concrete for me. What am I literally writing down? What does the page look like?
1 page, 4 lines. You could rule it up in a notebook right now. Line 1, every fund and its balance. Line 2, the fee on each as a percentage. Line 3, the investment option each one's in. Line 4, your beneficiary and the date you last set it. That's your whole super, on 1 page, for the first time in your life. Then 1 box at the bottom, the annual date you'll do this again. That single page is the difference between managing an asset and hoping about one. Keep it, update it once a year. That's the entire system.
3 hours. Find it, decide, set the dial, lock the date. That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing. And think about the return on that time. 3 hours could be worth more to your retirement than 3 extra years of work at the end. Not because it's clever, because it's early and it's consistent. The afternoon is small. The decade it sets up is not. You don't need permission. You don't need to be a finance person. You just need to open the laptop and look. Today. Before we close, the caveat that matters. Everything today is general information, not personal financial advice. Your super is specific to you. Before you consolidate accounts, switch investments, or make a big contribution, check your own situation. And for anything with real stakes, speak to a licensed advisor or your fund.
And some links in the description may be affiliate links. If you use them, we may earn a small commission at no extra cost to you. We only recommend what we believe in. Always do your own research. Vivian, we covered a lot. Give me the 3 things you want every person watching to walk away with.
Takeaway 1. The rules just changed and the change rewards the mover. Higher contribution room, a new tax at the top, a higher tax-free ceiling. Every lever pays the person who acts inside the window and quietly costs the person who waits. Time is not neutral. Move. Takeaway 2. The gap isn't income, it's attention. The people who retire well aren't the highest earners. They're the ones who took command of a few dials. What fund, what it's invested in, what it costs, what's going in, and stayed consistent. Attention is the whole edge, and attention is free. Takeaway 3. It's one afternoon, not a second career. Find your money, face 3 numbers, make 2 decisions, set the dial, lock a date to do it again next year. You do not need to become a finance person. You need to open the laptop and look. This weekend.
The rules reward the mover. The edge is attention, not income. And it's one afternoon, not a new life. That's episode 8. If it landed, do one thing for me. Send it to one person who's been telling themselves they'll get to their super later. This is the nudge they needed. Subscribe to Miles of Sense. Hit the bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode. Everything we referenced is in the description below. Stay sharp. We'll see you in the next one.